The year is 1707. Somewhere in the Deccan, far from the marble palaces of Delhi, an aging emperor sits alone in a military camp. His empire stretches from Kabul to the southern tip of India. It is the largest empire the subcontinent has seen in centuries. Yet the words he writes are not those of a conqueror celebrating victory. A famous letter attributed to him reads, "I came alone, and I go as a stranger. I do not know who I am, nor what I have been doing." The man was Aurangzeb. The empire was the Mughals. And by the time the Mughal Empire reached its greatest size, the forces that would destroy it were already at work. But to understand how this story ends, we must go back nearly 2 centuries, to a young prince who lost everything and decided to build an empire. His name was Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur. Born in 1483 in present-day Uzbekistan, he descended from Timur on his father's side and Genghis Khan on his mother's. His ancestry promised greatness. His reality was far less glamorous. At 11, he inherited a small kingdom. By his teens, he had lost it. He briefly captured the legendary city of Samarkand, only to lose that too. For years, Babur wandered Central Asia with little more than a handful of loyal followers. It's fascinating how a story that started in the mountains of Uzbekistan would soon change the heart of India forever. By the way, let us know where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel. Back to Babur. In 1504, he captured Kabul. From there, he turned his attention south. Northern India was politically fragmented. The Delhi Sultanate had weakened. Ambitious nobles fought for power, and rival kingdoms challenged central authority. Seeing opportunity, Babur marched into India. On April 21st, 1526, he faced Sultan Ibrahim Lodi at Panipat. Contemporary accounts claim Lodi commanded tens of thousands of soldiers and hundreds of war elephants. Babur's army was far smaller. But Babur brought something revolutionary: field artillery and matchlock firearms. As the Lodi army advanced, Mughal cannons tore through its ranks. The elephants panicked. Confusion spread. By sunset, Ibrahim Lodi was dead. The Delhi Sultanate had fallen. The Mughal Empire had begun. Babur secured his position with further victories, but died only 4 years later, leaving a fragile empire to his son, Humayun. Humayun inherited an empire, but not the skills needed to hold it together. While he struggled against rivals and rebellious brothers, a talented Afghan leader named Shah Suri rose to power. In 1540, Humayun lost Delhi and was driven into exile. For 15 years, he wandered as a king without a kingdom. His fortunes changed when he found support at the court of the Safavid ruler Shah Tahmasp of Persia. With Persian backing, Humayun gradually rebuilt his strength. He retook Kabul, then Kandahar, and finally, in 1555, he returned to Delhi. The Mughal Empire had been restored, but only months later, Humayun fell down the steps of his library and died from his injuries. The throne now passed to his 13-year-old son, Akbar. The empire Akbar inherited was barely alive. Within months of Humayun's death, a powerful general named Humayun captured Delhi and challenged Mughal rule. The two sides met at Panipat in 1556. Once again, the battlefield that had created the empire helped save it. After securing his throne, Akbar began transforming the Mughals from a conquering dynasty into a durable state. He understood something previous invaders often failed to grasp. India could not be ruled by force alone. It had to be governed through cooperation. His greatest achievement was building alliances with the Rajputs. Rather than treating them solely as enemies, he welcomed many Rajput rulers into the imperial system, granting them military and administrative positions of great importance. Not everyone accepted Mughal authority. Maharana Pratap of Mewar refused to bend. At Haldi Ghati in 1576, his forces clashed with the Mughal army, and though the Mughals claimed victory, Pratap escaped into the hills and waged guerrilla resistance until his death. He remains one of India's most celebrated warriors, but Akbar's broader strategy worked. Former rivals became partners in empire. He also strengthened administration, improved revenue collection, and created institutions that tied power directly to the emperor rather than local nobles. Yet, his most remarkable legacy may have been his approach to religion. Ruling over an overwhelmingly non-Muslim population, he abolished the jizya tax, welcomed talented individuals regardless of faith, and encouraged dialogue between different religious traditions. Akbar's goal was simple: political unity in a land of immense diversity. The results were extraordinary. By the 17th century, the Mughal Empire had become one of the richest economies on earth. Economic historians estimate that it may have accounted for roughly 25% of global GDP. When he died in 1605, he left behind not merely a large empire, but a global power. Akbar built the machine. His successors inherited it at full speed. His son Jahangir ruled during a period of prosperity and cultural refinement. But the most famous chapter of Mughal history belongs to Jahangir's son, Shah Jahan. Under Shah Jahan, Mughal architecture reached its peak. Then tragedy struck. In 1631, his beloved wife Mumtaz Mahal died during childbirth. The emperor responded by commissioning one of the greatest monuments ever built, the Taj Mahal. Constructed over 2 decades by thousands of artisans and craftsmen, it became a symbol of both personal grief and imperial power. A structure so perfect that 4 centuries later, it still defines the image of India in the global imagination. Shah Jahan also rebuilt Delhi, constructing the Red Fort, Jama Masjid, and the imperial city of Shah Jahanabad. The empire appeared stronger than ever, but beneath the surface lurked a fatal weakness. The Mughals had no fixed system of succession. Every prince could compete for the throne, and when Shah Jahan fell ill in 1657, the empire descended into civil war. 4 brothers fought for power. The winner was Aurangzeb, a skilled commander and determined ruler. He defeated his rivals, imprisoned his father, and became emperor in 1658. Shah Jahan, the man who built the Taj Mahal, spent his final years confined in Agra fort, gazing, they say, toward the monument he had built for his beloved wife. Under Aurangzeb, the Mughal Empire reached its greatest territorial extent. On a map, it looked unstoppable, but maps can be deceiving. Aurangzeb pursued a more orthodox vision of rule than Akbar. He reimposed the jizya tax and ordered the destruction of some temples, particularly in regions linked to rebellion. Yet many Hindus continued serving in senior positions across the empire. At the same time, resistance grew. In the Deccan, Shivaji and the Marathas challenged Mughal authority through guerrilla warfare. Even after Shivaji's death, Marathas' resistance continued, draining the imperial treasury for decades. In Punjab, tensions with the Sikh community intensified, adding another challenge to imperial authority. Aurangzeb spent decades campaigning across southern India. Territory expanded, but so did costs. The empire grew larger, yet harder to govern. When Aurangzeb died in 1707, he left behind the largest empire in Mughal history and was buried in a simple grave at Kuldabad. The man who ruled more of India than any Mughal before him was laid to rest with no monument, no marble, no Taj. After Aurangzeb, the long process of imperial fragmentation accelerated. Provincial governors became increasingly independent. The Marathas expanded, the Sikhs grew stronger. Then, in 1739, the Persian ruler Nadir Shah invaded India and sacked Delhi. He carried away enormous treasures, including the Peacock Throne and the Koh-i-Noor diamond. The illusion of Mughal invincibility was shattered. By the late 18th century, the emperor's authority barely extended beyond Delhi. The final chapter came in 1857, after the Great Uprising against British rule. The last Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, was captured and exiled to Rangoon. There, the dynasty founded by Babur came to an end. The Mughal Empire was never simply a story of rise and fall. It was an experiment, magnificent, contradictory, sometimes brutal, in how to govern one of the most diverse regions on Earth. It built monuments that defined civilizations, but its footprint is deeper than marble. From the administrative systems that still influence record-keeping today, to the flavors on our plates and the music that fills our air, the Mughals did not just pass into history, they became the modern world. Every time we govern, organize, eat, or listen, their echo remains.